Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It has been a minute. I've been posting quite a few vlogs lately. I feel like we haven't had a nice sit down chat video in a while. So I welcome you here today because I wanted to talk a little bit more about this lazy girl era and discipline era that I've been seeing kind of across my social media pages. I am not 100% sure if it is just because this content interests me and then I click on it and then the algorithm just feeds me more of that type of content. But I do think that it's something that's coming up more, and especially as we cross over into August and just kind of the second half of the year. There's a lot of people kind of talking about your mid-year reflection point and resetting on this year if you feel like the first part of the year hasn't really been what you wanted it to be, or it hasn't gone the way you wanted it to go. I wanted to just have a bit of a casual chat about my thoughts on this. Also, I do have a mic. This is part of the creator combo for my DJI Pocket 2 on my new vlog camera. And this is also my first sit down video that I'm filming with this camera. So please bear with me because I'm still kind of getting used to filming on this camera and using it, which is very sad because I've had this camera for 5 months now and I haven't used it that much. So also, nails. I just got them done today. I love them. They're so funky and very summery. And I recently successfully defended my dissertation proposal. I'm very excited. Actually, this is in part what inspired the video as well. I think productivity content has obviously been around for a while now. It's very popular to talk about productivity and discipline and goal setting and that kind of thing on YouTube. You know, I'm someone who loves a good like goal setting session and thinking about what I want my future life to look like. I have seen more videos talking about the lazy girl, exiting your lazy girl era and entering your discipline era. The first time I saw this term, lazy girl era, was in Janelle's video, which I'll link it up here and then also down below. Check out her channel if you haven't already. I saw this term and then I kept seeing it elsewhere. And so I looked it up, and I think my understanding of it is that this lazy girl era is kind of in response to or in rejection of girl bossing and female hustle culture, as Google says. Kind of like quiet quitting, almost like just show up, do your work, do your job, but don't do anything more. Don't put your entire body and soul and happiness into your career, and just kind of like be in your lazy girl era. For me, this lazy girl era really aligned with like the beginning of the pandemic, because pre-pandemic I was really busy working like 2 jobs. I was in grad school, I was applying to PhD programs, and all while trying to, you know, exercise, see friends, etc. I was doing a lot, and then the pandemic happened and I went from being out, literally being in my apartment only to sleep. If I wasn't working one job, I was doing the other job. If I wasn't doing that, I was doing stuff for school. If I wasn't doing that, I was studying for the GRE. So it was a lot. There was a lot happening. And then the pandemic hit, and I, for the first time, had the chance to be at home, to really envision a life for myself where I wasn't having to go like that all of the time, which is a huge privilege in and of itself. But I really leaned into this idea of living a kind of slower paced, I guess like softer life. I guess I feel like I kind of have been in that state for the past couple of years as I have gone through the first 3 years of my PhD program. And it's not to say that I haven't been busy doing anything. Like, obviously I've been in my PhD program and I've also been working, but I do feel as though the past couple of years have been a little bit different for me than when I think about pre-pandemic. But now I've successfully defended my dissertation proposal and I'm moving into the 4th year of my program, and I'm really starting to consider and think about like what I want to do after I graduate and after I complete this PhD. Stuff has just been getting a little bit more real for me. There is no definition, like hard and set definition of the discipline era that I was able to find, but the way that I think about it is this idea of radical responsibility, which is a term that I heard from, I believe her name is Fabiana Rodriguez. She is the founder and CEO, founder for sure, but of the Center for Cultural Power. I attended a workshop that she did, and she talked about this idea of radical responsibility and basically just doing what you say you're gonna do and showing up for yourself. On one hand, it might not seem very radical, but I think that for me, it kind of feels that way. When I was writing my dissertation proposal and I was really like in the thick of it, I was struggling. And I remember an email popped up. This subject line in particular really got me because it was, "Are you afraid to succeed?" And this was sent by the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity. I was reading through it and it really spoke to a lot of my feelings and fears, I guess, that I had. It's specifically about resistance to writing, but I did want to share a small excerpt for all of you. They write, "To be perfectly honest, of all the various types of resistance to writing we have described this summer, we have the greatest compassion for those suffering from a fear of success. Our compassion stems from the fact that this type of fear often drives scholars into such deep isolation and avoidance that they are the least likely to reach out for help. We also know that such fear is grounded in profound insecurity, not feeling good enough, and a lack of confidence in one's own skills. We've seen some tragic breakdowns among faculty who are immobilized by the fear of success. Unfortunately, they only occur after their situation has deteriorated so far that their career is in serious jeopardy. If any of this sounds familiar, we want to suggest a few ways that you can begin to move through the fear of success before a crisis arises." So I don't necessarily think I'm in like serious jeopardy, and I don't think I'm in crisis necessarily, but I have always struggled with procrastination. I think probably since freshman year of college. In high school, I definitely procrastinated, but I don't think it affected me quite as much as once I started college. Honestly, from freshman year of college to now, I've really struggled with it. And I remember in the beginning, I couldn't really figure out what was wrong with me because I would talk to my friends who didn't procrastinate and they would just say like, well, I just do it. You know, I want to get it done and get it over with and I just do it. I sit down and I do it. And it is literally that simple. But for me, that was like impossible to do. I would try to write, do my rough draft. I would try to write like a little bit every day. And maybe I would stick to it for like 2 days and then I'd fall off. And then I would cram everything in like the night before. I'd stay up, I'd pull all-nighters, I'd turn it in, and I'd still get a good grade. And I remember one time I successfully, wrote a rough draft and had feedback and then edited it and turned it in. I got a lower grade than what I was normally getting when I would cram write essays. And so for me, it served as kind of like a confirmation bias that like, oh, this is just my process. I do my best work last minute, right? I do my best work under pressure. It wasn't until I think like a couple of years ago that one of my friends sent me an article, or we had this discussion about procrastination, and I realized that it was actually a lot of procrastination. It isn't like laziness necessarily. It usually stems from like deep anxiety about the task you have to do. And exactly like this newsletter was talking about, anxiety, insecurity, feeling like you're not good enough, like you're not worthy. And I realized that I attached so much of my self-worth to writing, to what I was producing, and I needed everything to be perfect. I felt like if it wasn't perfect, that was kind of like a commentary about my worthiness and who I was as a person, which is pretty wild because when I talk to my friends about that who didn't struggle with this, they're like, that thought never crosses my mind when I'm writing an essay. It's literally an essay. The deeper I get into this program, the more I know that that is just not sustainable. I also know that a lot of other people in academia struggle with this. I have really realized I need to sit down and think through how I can actually have a more successful kind of second half of my doctoral program. And something that I've been, seeing a lot more about as well is reframing this idea of discipline as something that is bad or scary, I guess, and seeing it more as, I think I saw some posts that describe it as one of the highest forms of self-love, and reframing it in that way. Seeing it as like a commitment to yourself and like showing up for yourself, showing that you love yourself. I think as I have moved from, pre-pandemic, the pandemic, now, and then what I imagine, what I want for myself, I know that it's going to take a little bit more work than what I've been doing the past couple of years. I don't feel bad or guilty for having spent last year especially kind of just working and I went to Korea for a month, so I don't necessarily regret doing that at all. I think it's just more I sense myself realizing that I'm about to move into a busier time, turn the dial of intensity up a little bit, try to apply to more things, try to just be involved with more things related to research, my dissertation, networking, and also my professional work and development. And I'm kind of excited at that prospect. I feel energized by it right now. And I do think it's a fine balance, harmony, however you want to describe it, of I don't want to move to a point where I'm so busy that I'm no longer enjoying my life. I reject the idea that I have to put off happiness or put off doing what I want to do until I retire. This idea of, okay, I'll do that once I graduate. I'll do that once I'm making like 6 figures. I'll do that once I'm X, and like it continues, and before you know it, time has passed. Time is moving quickly. And so I really am trying to work through a way to honor both parts of that and enjoy life, be very present for all it has to offer right now, and also making steps and staying disciplined to make sure that future Emily is good, and that I'm living life and being really self-aware of thinking about why I want the things that I want, and if I want them because I truly want them, or if because society is telling me or other people are telling me that I should want that. But I guess I do feel myself kind of exiting my lazy girl era and moving into my discipline era. I hope that, I don't know, I guess I'm curious, like if you have also been seeing this in your social media feeds, or if you've been talking about this with your friends, and also like what you think about it, because I don't want it to turn toxic, and I think it easily can. I do think that there's something very cool and beautiful about showing up for yourself in the ways that you're able to, and really honoring yourself and your goals. I'd love to know how y'all are doing, what you think. If you are also trying to exit your lazy person era and enter your discipline era, I would love to know what self-love and discipline looks like to you and what your goals are. Please let me know. I love reading the comments. Anyway, I need to go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for just being here with me. And I will see you in the next video.